You've had the same fight 5 times this month. Different words, same feeling, and every time it ends the same way. You frustrated, him confused, both of you thinking, why don't they get it? Here's why. You're not fighting about dishes or plans or who said what. You're fighting about something neither of you saying out loud, and until you see what's actually happening, you won't just keep having the same fight. You'll keep losing each other in every conversation, even the ones that aren't fights. So let me show you what's really going on when you think you're talking to each other. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything changes. Let me show you exactly what I mean. The problem isn't what you're saying, it's what gets translated on the way to them. Every sentence you speak goes through a filter. Their mood, their stress level, the fight you had last week, the thing their ex used to say. And by the time your words reach them, they've been reinterpreted. You said one thing, they heard something completely different. And here's the part that makes this so dangerous. You're both convinced you're responding to what the other person said. You're not. You're responding to what you think they meant. Here's what's actually happening. You're speaking English. They're hearing a different language. Same words, different meaning. Because meaning isn't in what you say, it's in what they hear. And what they hear is filtered through their fear, their past, their insecurity. You say, "Can you help me with this?" What you mean, "I don't want to feel alone doing this." What they hear, "You're not doing enough." You say, "It would be nice if you thought about it." What you mean, "I want to feel considered." What they hear, "You're failing." And now both of you are reacting, not to what was said, but to what was received. Pause. This is the part most people miss. Relationships don't break because of what you say. They break because of how it's interpreted. Because nobody's hearing the actual message. They're hearing it through their current state. Their stress, their insecurity, their mood, same sentence, different meaning. And once you see this, you start noticing it everywhere. You're getting ready to leave. He's still on the couch. You say, "Are you coming?" He says, "In a minute." You hear, "You're not a priority." So your tone shifts. "We're already late." He hears, "You never do anything right." So he gets defensive. "Why are you always rushing me?" You hear, "Your needs don't matter." And now you're fighting. Not about leaving, about whether you matter. Same conversation, 2 completely different fights. And here's the part that will make you uncomfortable. You think the problem is him, that he doesn't listen, that he doesn't care, that he's not trying. But here's what's actually happening. He thinks the exact same thing about you, that you don't hear him, that you misunderstand him, that you overreact. You're both right and you're both wrong, because neither of you is hearing what the other is actually saying. And that's what's slowly killing the relationship. Not the fights, the misunderstanding underneath them. You ask for help with something small, dishes, laundry, whatever it is. Not because you can't do it, because you don't want to feel like you're carrying everything alone. They hear, "I'm not enough." So they hesitate, or they say, "Later." And that one word, later, lands differently than it was sent. To them it means, "I just need a moment." To you it means, "You're not a priority." And now the moment shifts. You feel it. So you lean in. "Why do I always have to ask?" They feel attacked, so they pull back. And suddenly, you're not talking about dishes anymore, you're talking about worth. This is where it gets subtle, because this doesn't just happen in arguments, it happens in silence. You stop doing your hobbies, not because you want to, because it feels easier to just stay close. They see that and think, "Everything's fine, we're spending time together." But what you're actually feeling is, "I'm disappearing a little." Same situation, different frequency. Or this, you're both working, both tired, both doing your best. But one of you is carrying more, not visibly, but mentally, planning, remembering, organizing, all the invisible things, and the other person doesn't see it. Not because they don't care, because they're not tuned into that frequency. So from their perspective, nothing is wrong. From yours, everything feels uneven, and neither of you is wrong. You're just receiving different signals. Or this, you're in the bathroom, you notice something small, a mess, something left undone, something that keeps happening. It's not a big deal. But it doesn't feel small either, because what you're actually feeling is, "Why am I the only one who notices this?" And that feeling builds, quietly. Or this, you talk about the future, but not really. We'll figure it out. Let's see what happens. But underneath that, something feels unstable because one of you is building and the other is just existing. And again, same words, different meaning. One hears, "We're exploring." The other hears, "We're drifting." This is how people start living past each other. Not suddenly, slowly. Because you're not reacting to what's happening. You're reacting to what it means. And meaning is never neutral. It's filtered through your fears, your past, your expectations. So when something small happens, your brain fills in the gap, usually with the worst possible interpretation. They don't care. I'm not enough. This isn't going anywhere. And now you're no longer responding to your partner. You're responding to a story about your partner, and they're doing the exact same thing. This is why relationships feel exhausting. Not because love disappeared, because understanding did. Because every moment is slightly misaligned, every sentence slightly distorted, like two radios playing the same broadcast on different frequencies. To sound familiar, but never clear enough to feel safe. And over time, that does something to you. You start explaining yourself more, or less. You start holding back, or overcompensating. You start walking on eggshells, or you stop trying at all. And eventually, it's not the conflict that breaks the relationship. It's the feeling of not being understood. That's what people actually leave. Not the dishes, not the habits, not even the arguments. They leave the constant misinterpretation. So you're probably wondering, how do I fix this? And here's what I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you to communicate better. I'm not going to tell you to use I statements. I'm not going to give you scripts to memorize, because the problem isn't what you're saying, it's what you're hearing, and what they're hearing. And until that changes, no amount of perfect wording will help. So here's what actually works. Awareness. The next time something small happens, pause. Ask yourself, what did I actually hear? And then ask something harder. What might they have meant? Because most of the time, you're both trying to protect something. You're trying to protect connection. They're trying to protect self-worth. And without realizing it, you're hurting each other while trying to protect the same thing. And here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit. Most relationships don't end because love disappeared. They end because understanding did. Because you got tired of explaining yourself. Because they got tired of being misunderstood. Because every conversation started feeling like a translation, you both failed. And slowly, you stopped trying. Not because you stopped caring. Because caring started feeling like speaking into a void. That's what kills relationships. Not the fights, the exhaustion of never being heard. So the next time it feels like you're arguing about something small, remember this, you're probably not on the same frequency. And until you are, you won't just keep having the same arguments. You'll keep misunderstanding the same moments. And slowly, as you won't lose each other in one big moment, you'll lose each other in 1,000 small ones that were never heard correctly.